Eddie Kingston and CM Punk. The second these two walked out, this crowd was just lit up. It was an intense walkout by Eddie Kingston. It was phenomenal. Bryce Remsburg has to get between them before the match. It's just an incredible environment here as the two are in the ring. The bell is not rung, and then Kingston nails him with the Hurricane before the bell rings, and Punk goes down, and my God, did he sell like he had a flash knockout here. He was just down, and then Punk gives him the middle finger. The bell rings, and this crowd's going nuts, and they just go right at it. Punk drills him with a kick on the apron and attacks Kingston's hand. Punk gets busted open. Kingston just laughs and rubs the blood over his face. And my God, did Punk get color here?
A few people on the show did. Yeah. When was the last time CM Punk did a blade job?
Oh my God. You'd have to go. You're going back more than 7 years.
Man. Wow.
Long time ago. So at one point, Punk hit like the John Cena slam, and he put his hand up in the air. Now, I promise that would have gotten a way bigger heel reaction than I think Cody believes the pedigree would.
This is exactly what I think Cody was going for with that pedigree. Okay,
yes.
Except like Punk didn't have to do half as much and got a huge reaction. All he did was he hit the protobomb. Which is, I think, what Cena used to call it when he was the prototype.
Right.
He lifted his hand up, and everybody knew what was happening. It was so awesome. This was great. This was awesome.
It was almost like it was obviously like engineered this way, but it was like just the way he did it. It was almost like he caught himself, and instead of doing the "you can't see me," he just gave him the middle finger. But
the lead up to this too, we have to remember, it was like the crowd progressively getting more and more anti-Punk. You know, they started off very 50-50, but as this match progressed, it was very pro Eddie Kingston and anti-Punk, which I never thought I would see.
But then, I mean, Punk had everyone here because then he did the Three Amigos, and
which I didn't. I'm sorry, like I don't want to get upset at somebody doing a tribute spot, and this is CM Punk, who has wrestled Eddie Guerrero, and so I have no doubt this was like incredibly like personal for him. At the same time, I thought he built up such a great thread of playing heel, doing the Cena stuff, that I don't know if this was the best time to do an Eddie tribute, you know? It also came because the crowd was chanting Eddie, 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 but for Eddie Kingston. Yeah. So for Punk to respond to an Eddie Kingston chant with an Eddie Guerrero tribute, I thought was just confusing. Even if his intent was perfectly, respectable, of course, but it threw me off, and I thought it cut off a wonderful heelish thread that he had going on.
Well, they then reset in the middle for the Fry Takayama spot, and Kingston drops Punk with an enziguri, and then it's Kingston making the go to sleep sign, but instead Punk lifts up Kingston. He hits the GTS, but he's still stunned from the enziguri, so he can't capitalize and go for the cover. Punk attacks him with knees from the tie clinch and then just follows with a second GTS, pinning Kingston in 11 minutes and 8 seconds. I thought this was awesome. I love this.
Great match. Great match. And I have to apologize to Hansi right now, because Hansi yesterday suggested whether or not we would see a double turn. And granted, like Eddie Kingston, he was never a heel to begin with, but this crowd booed Punk, which I never thought I would see. And it just shows you how big of a babyface they have in Eddie Kingston. He is by far a way bigger star coming out of this program, as shortly built as it was. This entire week felt like it was an Eddie Kingston week. I mean, it was very much a Hangman Page week, but right below him, it was an Eddie Kingston week. The value he got out of this Punk program, first of all, I think for sure they're going to do a rematch. But secondly, like I'm amazed at like how much this crowd loves him.
I thought like Kingston was going to feel like the biggest babyface on the show, Page included. And you could argue like the two were, of course, they were the two big baby faces coming out of this. And with Punk, I mean, at the end, he offered his hand and Kingston wouldn't shake it. It's Eddie Kingston. They have been able to get all of the appeal of like the Diaz brothers, that they will always be real with their fans, and they're never going to just like you as an Eddie Kingston fan, you don't want him to shake this guy's hand at the end of it. You want him to just storm out and leave. And it just leaves Punk as well, where I think he comes out of this as this still like in this babyface role, but I think people just really got into the fact that this is a real issue that these two had, and they picked their sides, and the majority were with Eddie Kingston. And I think with Punk, this gave him the ability to kind of explore this heel territory that I'm sure in time he will dive into fully at some point when they're ready to do it.
Totally. The John Cena thing he did in the middle is really interesting to me. I would love to know if like, that spot was planned from the get-go, or somehow that might have been like an audible, because that is incredibly fascinating to me. The fact that CM Punk can go from being such a top babyface, and in one night be put into the position of the man, the millionaire, the multi-millionaire who has everything, and at one point bullied this poor man who had nothing and fought his way up into this position. There's some incredible story to be told there. I'd love to see millionaire CM Punk, what that's gonna look like. Like what is the voice of the voiceless going to look like suddenly when he becomes rich? And he is rich, but like here's another person who is poor and who's calling bullshit on the guy who thinks he's a representative of the everyman. Eddie Kingston is really the representative of the everyman. So I there's so much wonderful story to be told here, and the way this ended really just felt like it was chapter 1.
Yeah, I think if like Eddie Kingston is just such a special performer that they have, that he's fantastic. I think these 2 weeks, I thought this whole build up, a 2-week program, and the match that it led to, I think this was just fantastic.
Yeah.